way for plantain, cocoa, and everything here, just like in the other parts. But the timber contractors didn't give me anything.
Being United Nations TV will rerun again, don't worry.
To deal with the problem of illegal felling, locals across the district are being trained up to work as forest monitors.
Shotguns and dirt bikes. There you go.
They use an app to report their findings. It only takes a couple of taps.
We are not just identifying illegalities and saying that it is illegal, but we identify, then we make a report on it, then we take action together with the Forestry Commission to address the problem.
Farmers in the Bia district know how important their trees are for the climate and keep the soil healthy. Felling trees leads to drier conditions. That in turn leaves the trees more vulnerable to pests, like these ants. Orlando Osmano is dealing with an infestation. He has a trick.
If I block it this way, no air gets to the ants, and so they die inside.
Simple and effective.
Yeah, but why?
But just as things were starting to look up for him and his family, the coronavirus struck, raising fears about how the disease will impact his business.
It's become a problem. COVID has really worried us. If I say it hasn't, I'd be lying. Before you could rely on selling small amounts at least. But if buyers don't come, you have no choice but to live with that worry. We're really suffering here.
Farmers like Orlando often have trouble accessing loans because their holdings are too small to use collateral. Now a local savings initiative has been established to help out and assist farmers in weathering the pandemic. Orlando was among those who attended a training session on financial management.
We know that after the establishment of the new renovated farms, it takes about 3 years or more before the farms start fruiting. So SMV, under the SCARS project, thought it wise to link up with financial institutions to see how they can support the farmers during the post-rehabilitation phase before the fruit starts, the cocoa farm starts fruiting.
Orlando's hoping to use the loan to expand and develop his plantation. He wants to be ready for what happens after the pandemic. The improved prospects have even prompted his son, Adama Husseini, to consider quitting his job as a teacher to give farming a go himself.
Now I can see a lot of improvement. Actually, my father is able to get food to feed the family, and then some of the food that he sells, he's able to get money from there, some small income to support the family.
You can find a way to put the cage on camera.
Now I'm even attracted to
exactly the same thing, but instead of me, it'll be the cage with the mice.
A new generation and a good harvest in sight. For Orlando Osmano, things are looking up.
But the problem is the mice can get right through the bars of the cage. I got them in there. In there right now, but they'll go through the bars to get out. They don't understand the doors. I left the doors open. They didn't even try them. They didn't even see that the doors are open. They can't see that well. They don't have to. They live in holes in the ground and walls. These people are trying to outsmart Mother Nature. It's not going to happen. You're not going to outsmart the virus. You're not going to outsmart the ants. Nothing. Oh, this is useful. I need like filler for like 120 seconds. Or something, because I'm gonna sit here and smoke all this right now because I got nothing better to do, and tomorrow I'll be like, ah, maybe I'll die tonight. I don't pay off. If I die tonight,
I get paid if you do.
Dessert first theory.
Look, Hack. Lee Trumbo murdered a man. He's gonna stand trial.
You know, all these people.
If he stands trial,
everybody's gonna have a shootout with Matt Dillon.
I've been particularly fortunate to have made many visits to the Pacific over the years. My first being to Fiji 50 years ago this year to represent Her Majesty the Queen at the Independence celebration.
Queen, wait, what?
In 1974, I spent several months on the Pacific deployment when I was serving in the Royal Navy, and have very special memories of all the Commonwealth Island states we visited.
What do you mean you represented the Queen there? Yeah, she sent you because they're going to figuratively and possibly literally kick your ass off the fucking island. Get out of here.
Your region and its people.
Oh, right. Okay.
To invite the alternate government.
I think, ASEAN's processes are a bit slow, that's one. And number two, there are vested interests within the ASEAN itself vis-a-vis the army. And there's also this army relationships that they have. The various armies in the region,
by the way,
talk among themselves.
Army is also a French loan word. Thank you.
Pressure on the governments who should be invited. And I think, it sends a very, very wrong message. And this man, Min Aung Hlaing, is responsible for the murder, killing, and genocide of thousands and thousands of people. In fact, this is an embarrassing moment for ASEAN, where a guy who's, in a very short while ICC is going to declare him wanted, is sitting next to elected governments. This is shameful, I must say.
Some are saying this is the biggest challenge that ASEAN has ever faced. Would you agree with that?
That's true. ASEAN has never faced a crisis like this before. And therefore, one can understand that lots of mistakes that are being made. But at the same time, one must also appreciate the fact that ASEAN is putting its mind together. The elements within ASEAN that feel that ASEAN can do better vis-a-vis Myanmar, and I think the effort is there. But the way they have started the process itself is a bit undermining the process, which is sad. And therefore, I think the NUG or the National Unity Government should have been part of the process of rebuilding democracy, human rights, and rule of law in the country. This is a missed opportunity.
Okay, Charles, thank you. That was Charles Santiago, Member of Parliament in Malaysia and chair of the ASEAN Parliamentarians for Human Rights Group. Emma Beals, I want to bring you into this discussion. How best to deal with a government that seized power in a coup? Should they face sanctions?
Stay out of their way.
Should investment be withdrawn? How to deal with what's going on in Myanmar?
And then sell replacement parts later.
It depends really who you are. So, we're talking about ASEAN, and so I think that while there might be certain approaches that would be clear or seem clear to us as viewers or listeners, there's many considerations for diplomats, and particularly diplomats as a part of a bloc like this. And they may be keen to sort of encourage or question or lay out expectations through dialogue as an initial step before condemnation or exception, because obviously trying to de-escalate, end the violence, take those steps that we just heard about in a measured way, if possible, is a preferable sort of approach to immediately ratcheting up the stakes on day one. And I would hope, from what we've just heard, that whilst this is potentially a missed opportunity isn't a closed door. It may be, that there is room to improve this process, to use that dialogue, or to then begin to take additional steps from this ASEAN group to address what's happening in Myanmar. But there's, of course, different considerations for other actors.
You're going to get
United States or the UN, and we've seen some of those much firmer responses from some of the various parties around the world.
Well, Vandana, we've been hearing from Emma on the powers of dialogue.
I just made a bad time
Is it better to involve the authorities, the military authorities, in power in these discussions, or should they simply be isolated?
The problem with isolating them is then you can't have any discussion and you can't move the conversation forward. But I think it's really important that the people in power outside the country can hold them to account and get the national unity government there as well.
Emma, would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. As I was saying, there's different roles for different actors. The community of governments in the region may take a different approach to some of the governments or even exiled actors who may be in a better position to take firmer responses that push more towards accountability. And so together, those approaches can create change over time, hopefully.
Okay, thank you. Well, it is 14
All you need is like a million Canadian reservists with fully automatic
BBC World Service. Well, for the third consecutive day, India has registered the world's highest ever number of coronavirus infections. The latest figures show more than 340,000 cases and over 2,600 deaths. Hospitals are running out of beds, antiviral drugs, and above all, medical oxygen. In the capital, Delhi, the authorities are reporting the equivalent of one death from COVID every 5 minutes. There have been numerous reports of patients dying because of the oxygen shortages. Here's the BBC's Yogita Lamai in Delhi.
The front line, an emergency room in a COVID hospital, just about standing under the weight of an unfolding disaster. A patient who's hardly breathing is brought in. As nurses try to get him to respond, there's another person, even more critical. They couldn't revive him. To get past the shortage of beds, they've packed in stretchers, wheelchairs, as many as they can. But the first line of treatment against COVID-19 is oxygen. And they've almost run out. At this point, there was just 1 hour of supply left. The staff knows how many lives hang in the balance. People are being turned away, but they don't know where they'll find oxygen or a bed. Manura Bibi was taken in for a short while to stabilize her. We've already been to 5 hospitals. Where will poor people like us go? And everyone else. But this hospital is so on the brink, they have to leave. The intensive care unit is full too. There are next to no ICU beds in a city of 20 million. Yogita Lamai. Well, a short while ago, I spoke to the virologist Gangandeep Kang from the city of Vellore in southern India. She's a professor at the Christian Medical College there. And first I asked her why there'd been a sudden surge in the virus in India.
I think there are some reasons that we can ascribe this upsurge to, and one of those is mass gatherings. We've recently had a lot of festivals and we've had elections.
They both say orange on the tag.
And if you look at pictures of any of those events, you can see that you had people in very close proximity to us. And when I mean people in close proximity, I'm talking about tens of thousands of people, and many of them without masks, without any of the interventions that we've been so carefully advising for the past year and a bit. So that's one major reason. The other one that we still lack clarity on is the role of potential mutants, which mutations in the virus that have led to variants, and these variants under investigation may be the reason why we've seen an increase in cases. It does look from the epidemiological picture that these variants are capable of better transmission, but we don't have the biological data to back that up at this time.
And how might these possible new variants, these mutations, affect those who've been vaccinated?
Right now, it looks like vaccines are very capable of handling the bulk of these variants that we are seeing around the world. The one that is of the greatest concern is B1351, the variant that was identified in South Africa. But even with that variant, it's not like vaccines completely stopped working. It's just that they work less well. And in data that came out in the past week, it's been shown that the most common Indian variant, the one called B1617, it does appear that people who have been previously infected or vaccinated with either of the two vaccines currently available in India, those people are capable of neutralizing the virus. So the vaccine should work against this variant.
What should the government do now?
We need to ensure that there are no non-essential activities taking place. You know what Indian weddings are like, and restricting the size of gatherings, whether it is for family reasons, other social reasons, or for business, or for political rallies, all of that really needs to stop. I don't think a national lockdown is required, but I think that in places that are showing a rise in cases, we do need to intervene with greater stringency than we have done.
It's not going to happen.
Also help the hard-hit economies of small, vulnerable island developing states through debt relief and rapid support that stimulates inclusive
What were you
and
doing
resilient
lending
growth.
money to people you try to
Dear
crush
friends,
in the first place?
we all have a
Trying
duty
make
to
them feel
take care of
committed
each
to
other.
you.
This pandemic has hit the most vulnerable the hardest. Women, people with disabilities, the elderly, youth, migrant workers. Governments, employers, community leaders, faith-based organizations, young people, we all have a role to play. Let us keep standing together to fight the virus. Let's say no to violence, no to discrimination, no to stigma, no to vicious misinformation, and let's say yes to solidarity, yes to compassion, caring for each other in the Pacific way. Let's keep drawing from that spirit, that hard work and everyday heroism, that we celebrate today, and let's rebuild a Pacific in the world.
Be sure to listen to Dragnet, the story of your police force in action, tomorrow night, Tuesday, on another network. Next week at this same time, Chesterfield will bring you another story of...
Israel has carried out air raids in the Gaza Strip in response to repeated rocket attacks by Palestinian militants, marking a sharp escalation in hostilities.
That are supposedly
and
in
hopes
Syria
are fading
or
for more than
something.
50
It has something
crew
to do
members
with
on board
Iran
an
and an
Indonesian
earthquake
submarine,
too.
which disappeared on
This
Wednesday.
makes a lot of sense.
Well, switching gears now to look at what decades ago was one of the joys of childhood, being allowed to run around and play freely outdoors away from adults. But does this happen at all anymore? Here in the UK, education experts and child psychologists are warning that parents are not giving their kids enough time and freedom to play with their friends in the fresh air outside the home. The British Children's Play Survey this week showed that today's youngsters are generally have to wait longer, typically until they're 11, before they're allowed out to play on their own. Back in the day, their parents were able to play freely outside at the age of 9.
The parents
And it
want
seems
them
that
out,
today's
but they're
kids often
blaming the
engage in less
parents for them
adventurous
not
play
going
than
out.
previous generations.
Now the government's saying
Well,
stay
Tim Gill is a
in, and
British
now you're
writer
still
and
blaming the
consultant on
parents.
childhood and an advocate
Kids still
for
sitting on the same
children's
damn
play
couch
and
watching the same damn
mobility.
TV.
His books include Urban Playground, How Child-Friendly Planning and Design Can Save...
Wait a second. Child-friendly planning and design.
With this idea that some kinds of child's play are better than others. For example, if my child is indoors building Lego structures under my gaze, is she worse off than if she's outside playing freely with her friends?
Well, I think that a better way to think about it is a sort of varied and balanced diet of childhood experiences. So just as with a regular diet, you want variety. You want a different ingredients. But the point I think that this research is suggesting is that one of the key ingredients of a healthy and happy childhood is having some space and time. Where the anxious concerns of adults are in the background, and where children really get the chance to feel, what they can do, what they're capable of, how to deal with challenging or uncertain situations.
You're on some weird thing.
Acknowledging that they don't know anything about anything, but just wanting to learn and have an open, honest conversation.
You sound like you're about
and it doesn't have to be Dr. Tam.
School or something.
It could be anybody that's, considered a leader throughout this pandemic for this country.
Politics or.
With that in mind, I want to open up maybe the phone boards and also your text responses, 877-399-9898. Who would be an appropriate pick? In the same way that Marshawn Lynch had this conversation with Dr. Fauci, who do you think would be the most appropriate pick to do something similar for Canadians?
To do what?
I don't think there's a wrong answer per se, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on who you think
been done
would
for
be
Americans?
the best choice to try and connect with younger individuals or anybody else
I think Trudeau
who
just
might be
did
on the
what the
fence about
Americans
getting
do.
vaccinated,
$351
wearing
billion
masks, doing all that.
deficit.
Let us know on the other side. We'll get your thoughts. Plus, another episode of Lord Shred's April Riffage. That's here, and it's on the shift.
That's the other thing. How do you go 2 years with no budget? I'm a little confused. No budget. What they've been spending the last year? That's like what? So for the last, so in the U.S., they run out of money. They say we're closing government. They shut down everything, which is odd because the money's not all in like one bank account that it just gets closed. People can still go to work and shit. In Canada, they don't pass a budget for a full fucking year, and everything's business as usual. This don't make no sense. $351 billion deficit. So I'm not sure deficit, not the total debt. I forget what I thought our debt was $2 trillion. Now they say it's like $1 trillion. Just $1 trillion only. So that'd be like what if we do everything 10 to 1? No, we can't do that. It's a different exchange rate. Okay, hold on.
Babe, it's the bacon you can cook naked. Really? Who knew? Lou's Kitchen Double Smoked Back Bacon. Find it today at Sobeys, Loblaws, Walmart, and Metro.
It'd be a $3.5 trillion deficit. Canadian dollars, so I don't know, four fifths of a dollar.
Look, I have to say, I think India is brilliant for allowing kids out to play. And I think it's absolutely crucial. I completely agree that
$2.8 trillion deficit.
Kids learn so much. They learn about their own reactions, their gross motor control skills, by having to deal with danger, right? And I think it's really, really important that we protect that because
that would be the equivalent, $2.8 trillion. They usually do like a $2 trillion deficit in a year, don't they? We just went over it. We just outdid the Americans. Nobody's talking about that. We out-Americans the Americans at deficit financing.
And if I sit down here with you, the other tables are all filled up.
Of course not. Pull up a chair.
Thanks. You prospecting around these parts?
No, just on my way to Dawson. Say, is that a Dawson newspaper you've got stuck in your pocket?
Yes, the latest issue of the Klondike Nugget.
Oh, would you mind if I took a look at it? I haven't seen a copy of the Nugget for almost a year.
Why, sure. Go ahead and read it. You've been outside the territory for a while?
Yes, I was in the American Army down in Cuba. Well, looks like the Nugget's gotten to be quite a newspaper. I guess Dawson must have grown a lot since I saw it last.
It sure has. You won't recognize the place. Hey, waiter, how about giving me some service?
You're right there. I've even got a column of social notes. Holy smoke.
What's the matter, son?
Oh, nothing. I just saw an item about a girl I know getting married.
What'll it be, Sardo? I want a steak about this thick, smothered with onions.
Sure, coming right up. Hey, wait a minute. How much do I owe you?
Well, let's see. That'll be $3.50.
Here, keep the change.
Thanks. Hey, ain't going yet, are you? You ain't even finished your meal.
Well, I guess I'm not as hungry as I thought I was. So long, old-timer.
There we go.
With good weather all the way and the trail hard-packed, the trip from Selkirk to Dawson was completed in 5 days. Phil Rockland was preparing to turn in for the night when he heard a dog team halting outside his cabin. A moment later, someone knocked on the door.
Yes, what is? No, it can't be.
But it is, Phil.
Tom Beckett.
In the flesh. Oh, do you mind if I come in?
Why, no. Come on. Golly, Tom. I still can't believe it.
I guess it must be quite a shock at that.
I thought you were killed down in Cuba.
Well, the War Department thought so, too.
Hey, here, give me a parka. I'll hang it up.
Which Cuban War was this one?
Thanks, Phil.
1897 something?
Now, for the love of Mike, tell me what happened.
Well, there's not much to tell. I got shot down by a sniper during a jungle skirmish. The natives picked me up, nursed me for a couple of weeks. Finally, one of them got word through to the American lines. A couple of corpsmen came and hauled me out on a stretcher. By that time, I'd been reported dead.
But good heavens, why didn't you write and tell us you were safe?
Well, in the first place, I was delirious for quite a while. Caught some kind of jungle fever. After I pulled through that, it looked like they'd have to amputate my leg. Well, if that happened, I figured maybe I'd better let Elaine go on thinking I was dead.
You darn fool.
Oh, I guess you're right. Anyway, I was lucky. The doctors finally managed to save my leg.
And now here you are.
I know what you're thinking, Phil.
This has to be
What do you mean?
far off the
You're wondering what's going to happen now that I'm back. You see, I read that notice in the paper about you and Elaine being engaged.
Oh? Tom, I don't know what to say.
Never mind.
You were dead. That's
I don't
your
blame you
fault.
for falling in love with her. What I want to know is whether Elaine's in love with you.
What the fuck
Have
is
you
wrong
talked
with
to her yet?
He's been asking himself that
Came
for
straight
like
here to
3
your cabin as soon as I got to
months or some
Dawson.
shit.
You want the truth?
Phil, you're my best friend. I know you won't lie to me, so just give it to me straight.
Elaine and I fell in love less than a month after you went back to the States to enlist.
Oh,
dear.
I see.
Tom,
he'll kill you.
I'm
dumbass.
sorry it had to happen this way.
Don't be silly. It's not your fault.
You should have said you thought he was dead. You should
What
have
do
just
you figure
stuck
I'm
out. We
doing?
thought you were dead.
Oh, I don't know. This sort of changes all my plans.
Nick, now he's
Say,
gonna
listen,
kill
Tom,
you.
would you like to do a little prospecting?
What do you mean?
Well, the bank just got word this morning about a new gold strike up in Malamute Valley. The news hasn't gotten around yet, so if you were to head up there right away before the stampede starts, you could probably stake yourself out a nice claim.
By golly, that's an idea. There's nothing to keep me around Dawson any longer. I'll stock up on supplies and start tomorrow morning.
Good. You're not planning on seeing Elaine before you go?
What's the use? No, Tom. You can give her my best regards. Tell her I wish both of you lots of happiness.
Why, sure, Tom. I'll do that.
Sergeant Preston was returning from a northern patrol. About 10 miles from Dawson, he stopped to prepare his midday meal. As he busied himself over the campfire, a traveler approached and braked his sled along. King greeted the newcomer with a series of friendly barks.
Hello there, King. I might have known you wouldn't forget me. Hello, Sergeant.
Tom Beckett. I'm not seeing things, am I?
I'm not a ghost, if that's what you're thinking.
But you were reported killed in action.
Oh, I was wounded and couldn't get back to my outfit. My company officer.
Yeah, I've had one of those
Instead
experiences
of
seeing
which you're
somebody
back
that died
safe
after they're dead. This is supposed to happen.
Back from the grave.
Well, I can't offer you any fatted calf, Tom, but I can fix you a plate of beef. Find yourself a place and sit down.
Thanks, Sergeant, but I ate just before I left Dawson. Oh, take a cup
Out
of
in the
coffee,
woods
though.
somewhere is a bunch of dead Indians
Why,
getting
of
up ready to
course.
fight this war.
There you go.
They're dead. They're not going to catch a virus.
I suppose Elaine McNeil's mighty happy you're back.
Well, I haven't seen her.
Well, I thought you two were engaged.
Oh, we were.
Fighting in,
She changed her mind while I was gone. She's going to marry Phil Rockland. The wedding's set for tomorrow morning.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. Is that why you're leaving Dawson?
Well, it's one of the reasons. I'm on my way to Malamute Valley. Hoping to get there before the stampede starts.
Stampede? Well, I didn't even know anyone was prospecting over that way.
Oh, it's just a new strike. Phil Rockland found out about it through the bank, and he was the one who passed the word along to me.
I see. Well, Tom, you haven't had a very happy homecoming. Here's hoping you'll have better luck in Malamute Valley.
Banks are in the position of sitting on lots of valuables. If you don't know what that's like, it means you don't push certain
Phil
issues.
Rockland had left
No
the bank
point telling
at
people there's
lunchtime
gold
and gone to the
somewhere and
Northern
you
Lights
don't know
Cafe.
nothing what you're talking about.
Went to the back.
Because they're going to come back angry. You're going to be like, oh, you owe us a loan payment. They're going to pull out a gun and say, you told me there was gold. And it was your fault. It's just like funeral homes and motorcycle clubs make the best
What an
neighbors.
interesting time and window that we're in, and all the various
The snow
conversations,
will always be
including
shoveled
about
and
life and death,
heavily salted around
are so
the
present.
funeral home. You won't even know it's professional. You won't even notice.
Hello, I'm Catty Kay in Washington.
And I'm Carlos Watson in California.
Welcome to When Catty Met Carlos.
A new show exploring what's shaping America today, brought to you by the BBC World Service and Aussie Media.
Very good. It's too long.
COVID times. I wish I could see you face to face, but for now, we'll just have to do it like this. And I hope that I get to visit your beautiful island in the future again.
Just wait a few years. There's going to be little gangbangers.
It's out on all platforms. I hope you like it. And I'm finishing up my new album, which will be released this year. And I hope I get to see you again. For now, I'll play you a little tune. It's called Just an Illusion.
I don't know where you're going with that, so I don't want to. You'll blow my buzz. It's a bad time to blow my buzz.
A wrong answer, but I'm curious to see what you've got in mind. 877-399-9898. Nighthawk Steve chiming in saying, I think Connor McDavid would be a good pick. Honestly, I think a lot of those hockey players in the NHL would make a lot of sense. Connor McDavid certainly is arguably the best player in hockey today, right now.
We've covered
obviously,
a lot of subjects
a proud
today.
Canadian. But with that said, Sidney Crosby, you know, the career that he has had, Sid the Kid. I think when Sidney talks, Crosby that is, Canada listens. And the only thing that keeps me from wanting to name more hockey players is that, generally speaking, hockey players don't want to get too political, right? They don't want to get involved in election talk. They don't want to get too involved with certainly like
we get 2.5 minutes of nothing on the radio.
I don't think they are necessarily wanting to put themselves in a position where they have to basically do this. They just want to be hockey players, and I respect that. At the same time, you know, there's also like a social responsibility if you have a platform like Connor, like Sid.
So the other thing too, to point out is that the part about you heard about the gold thing from the bank. That doesn't make sense. It's going too far. It's lying one step too far, and then it comes across as bullshit.
Cathedral are set to toll.
You could have just said he heard it from some prospectors in the fucking cafe. It's not a bar, it's a cafe in Canada. You have coffee at the cafe. You have to go to the
Today, Mark, truly grim.
Or anybody's house, but not the cafe. Why would you go to the cafe for coffee?
500,071 dead.
Exactly that way. Get the fuck out of here. You're not counting all the cases. You're not counting all the black people that are sick. You're not counting all the other weird shit going on. People get stabbed up.
Like you're just relying too much on people to do the right thing, the honor system, which we know just hasn't been working. So,
two different. A bunch of people get murdered for ridiculous reason.
With hearing from Dr. Tam, why not? Greg in Calgary saying, we'll have Dr. Tam interview a former hockey player. No one better than Jerome again. Greg in Calgary. I think Jerome would be a fantastic pick. Honestly, I do. I think Jerome McGinley is intelligent. He's extremely charismatic. He is a proud Canadian. There's a lot of people that respect the way he played the game and the way he handles himself as a family man. There's a lot of great qualities about Jerome McGinley that I think...
From the Kingdom of Tom. It's wonderful to be with you tonight for this very special concert as we enjoy performances from some of the region's
you're listening to music, talking about all these dead people. I get so tired of that too. People pretending they're not celebrating.
Thinking, how on earth have we tolerated?
They're like
so
celebrating the fact
dying?
that I don't know how to phrase what I'm saying.
First of all, revisiting and hearing that encapsulation, I mean, my eyes just teared up. Hearing and thinking what I was going through each time I heard all those things. Feeling this impending wave coming and then seeing it come. I mean, it hit our hospital, hit my town hard in Boston. Our hospital filled. We had triple bed capacity. All of the things that we went through, you know, have we processed it? No, but we lived it.
What I went through
all
in
of
the
us
fucking
did.
hospital.
I think there's
I'm not gonna feel no
couple of
sympathy
things
nobody gave a
that
fuck
are really
what it
striking about
does.
this experience. One is how differently it hit different communities by both age and race. You know,
Well, Sergeant, the Northwest Mounted isn't in the Yukon to play Cupid, but go to it.
Thank you, sir. Devil's Gorge was a narrow, steep-walled chasm several miles long. The trail to Malamute Valley lay along the western edge of the gorge. It was late at night, and a full moon had risen by the time the two hired killers came in sight of Tom Beckett's camp. Tom was rolled in his blankets in the shelter of a thick clump of spruce. He was awakened by the startled barking of his huskies. Seeing the two men approaching, Tom threw aside his blankets and got to his feet.
Howdy, strangers. Traveling kind of late at night, aren't you?
Your name, Tom Beckett?
Yeah, that's right. What about it?
Get your hands up.
Hey, what's the idea?
Shut up and do like I tell you unless you want a hole in your head. Yeah, that's better. Now turn around. All right. Now start walking over to the edge of the gorge.
What are you aiming to do?
Shut up and get going.
As Tom approached the gorge, Bronson suddenly raised his hand and brought his gun butt smashing down on Tom's head.
All right, Bree, grab his leg.
Yeah, I got him. Now, I'm going to carry him over to the edge.
All right. Let's heave him over.
Let him go. You think him dead?
If he ain't dead, he's in mighty poor shape right now. Anyway, what's the difference? The fall didn't kill him. He'll freeze to death before he comes to. Come on.
Hey, look, someone come.
Tell people that kill people, right?
Think him see what happened?
I don't know. He'll probably show up pretty clear in this moonlight. We better... Right, you're celebrating dead people too. The dock station's but what the fuck is going? Everything's broken.
Brewing
the
here.
storm drains their work.
Next up, let's move on to the time that's a bit closer to the present, the 20th century.
A lot of water running out.
Tonight was composed in the 1920s and is widely considered as a milestone of the era.
此外，这个作品作者刘天华先生在乐曲中表达了对振兴国乐的期望和对当时音乐局势的疑问。
Tonight conveys its composer Liu Tianhua's expectations and concerns in regard to the development of Chinese music. In the 1920s, musicians were adamant about establishing professional music institutions so that the traditional essence would be preserved and distributed. As a result, the first music university was founded in 1927. 2 years later, Mr. Liu wrote this piece to express his complicated feelings towards such a great achievement, though he was pleased and a bit doubtful at the same time. In the piece, the pipa was used to imitate the sound of a couple of classic Beijing instruments, such as the fretless three-stringed lute, the sanxian, and drum.
They all start with that one. Oh, I'm gonna get so sick of this so fast. It's gonna take you forever to get that shit. It's like an engine that won't start. Like what the fuck?
But they're either getting the song right or the band wrong. It's very interesting.
Right.
One of them's REM Everybody Hurts, which not too bad. It's like
so we're not getting any news or talk from anywhere. None. No, not allowed, apparently. Do we want to hear a bunch of weirdos up in Alaska throwing people off cliffs? Damn. No, because I'll smoke the joint. But, like, if I'm going to come back to this in 20 minutes, I'm wasting my time.
Would you like to own investment real estate? Hi, I'm Todd C. Slater, the simple investor in...
I need one of these black-owned business grants that everybody bragged about last year. Hey, by the way, $351 billion deficit. What did I just equate that to? If you multiply it by 10 and then by 0.8, so I could have just multiplied it by 8. Whatever. The point is, it'd be what? What did I say? $2.8 trillion deficit U.S. would be equivalent for the same size population. Where's this black business grant loan money? Nothing. Nothing. No, I'm not pressing that button. Yeah, I'm pressing this button.
But hush, a nigga wrote a statement on me. Yeah. Certain man
droplets travel 30 meters.
General. Are you dumb? Better who, when, where, never fix up. I let my dread hang, put 12K where my teeth at. If your shorty's fiending, then I might just have to fix. I'm the shopper's drug mart booming in the 6. How you get it out the mud? Community housing. North side of the Rex, places you weren't allowed in. Bitches used to laugh at the kid, not wanna see me. Told her put these on so you can see me coming in 3D. Forrest Gump into the money, you looking like Bueller. You figure it's not for everybody, I had to maneuver. We were shooting for the stars, that was that where they were shooting. I go pop the builder for the fix up if you acting funny. Yeah. Are you dumb? Certain mans get crushed on road and keep it hush. A nigga wrote a statement on me, who can I trust? My mom's and I in a women's shelter, it was just us. A man trying to come for the kid, I told him head back before they start aiming at your head back. You get that? Backhand the back of your head, they tell you head back. They wanna let they sick in the head, but then we get that. I'm trying to put a 4 in our road, and then we head that. Going down like Titanic, it's high, found where it head at. Keep a young mind with me, that would make you say, ooh. 4-1 to the west, bumping that day east. In my city, little nigga, I'm a don like you. She wanna be my playboy bunny, I guess I'm cute. I came from the Rex where they good with the text. SMS, got a text, now your wife giving sex. Are you drunk? It's don't get close, so we the gang. It's don't get close, you will get smoked, you cannot hang. I'll shoot his neck, I'll shoot his chest, I'll shoot his bangs. It's don't get close, so we the gang. Grown up, be the hardest soul, y'all butter slot. Block party turning up, till the dogs lock it up. All of them be cock a lot, see them and they nodding back. Matching if I hide a map, know what I will do to all. Go on the clock, I'll be bringing back the Holocaust. Hit them up, long distance, no calling time. When I pop it up, treat me like a movie star. She wanna love me cause I'm back from the metal part. Cocaine white, like I'm walking around with cotton balls. Treat it like an acrobat, flipping and I'm stretching down. Niggas talking like they G's, all they do is rap beat. Talking all that shit up, been on Smack TV. Certain mans get crushed on road and keep it hush. Certain mans get crushed on road and keep it hush.
So, whatever it looked like, most of it was still in the paper, but no, just watch. There's gonna be, I'll have like 6 matches in a row go out and explode. Or I'll strike it this way, and the fucking thing come at me like this. But everything happens like this. I'm used to it. I really don't care. I don't know what just happened. Like, I don't know how this came out of my hand because I was holding it. Never. I don't give a fuck. I know people pay money for black magic and shit. If you're paying money for it, that don't make no sense. You have a bad time. You are gonna have a bad time. Oh, I don't give a fuck. I'll just put more in there. Like this over and over.
Better poop. Yeah. Certain man gotta fix up quick. The general. Are you dumb? Better who, when, where, never fix up. I let my dread hang, put 12K where my teeth at. If you're shorty fiending, then I might just have to fix. I'm the shopper's drug mart booming in the 6. How you get it out the mud? Community house.
I don't give a fuck. I'll just do it over and fucking over. Just like the video's getting interrupted. Just like you idiots coming up to me on the street getting shanked up in your houses, man. Yeah, I roll it, and there's no fucking glue on the goddamn paper. Thanks. This is helpful. We didn't even get to matches yet. Okay.
North side of the Rex, places you weren't allowed in. Bitches used to laugh at the kid, not wanna see me. Told her put these on so you can see me coming in 3D. Forrest Gump into the money, you looking like Bueller. You think it's not for everybody, I had to maneuver. We were shooting for the stars, that was that where they were shooting. I go bomb the builder for the fix up if you acting funny. Yeah. Are you dumb? Certain mans get crushed on road and keep it hush. A nigga wrote a statement on me, who can I trust? My mom's a night in a women's shelter, it was just us. A man trying to come for the kid, I told him head back. Before they start aiming at your head back. You get that? Backhand the back of your head, they tell you head back. They wanna let they sick in the head, but then we dead there. I'm trying to put a foreign on road, and then we head there. Going down like Titanic is high, find where her head at. Keep a young mind with me, that would make you say, ooh. Or one to the west, bumping that day east. In my city, little nigga, I'm a don like you. She wanna be my playboy bunny, I guess I'm cute. I came from the Rex where they good with the text. SMS, got a text, now your wife give me neck. Are you done? It's don't get close, so we the gang. It's don't get close, you will get smoked, you cannot hang. I'll shoot his neck, I'll shoot his chest, I'll shoot his fangs. It's don't get close, so we the gang. Rolled up, be the hardest stove, y'all butter slot. Block party turning up, till the dogs busted up. All of them be cock a lot, see them and they nodding block. Matching if I had a map, know what I would do to all. Go on the clock, I'll be bringing back the holocaust. Hit them up, long distance, no calling. When I pop it up, treat me like a movie star. Now she wanna love me cause I'm back from the metal bars. Cocaine white, like I'm walking around with cotton balls. Like an acrobat, different shut you down. Niggas talking like they G, all they do is rap beat. Talking all that shit up in our certain mans get crushed on road and keep it hush. Certain mans get crushed on road and keep it hush. No matter who, when, where, never. Are you done?
Please take forever to do everything, then tell me I'm not on the internet. Holy fuck, man. There's literally no technical reason for this to be occurring. Well, I'll just put it down. As I keep repeating, for the last 6 months, reading Chomo Hacker's biggest trigger is me. Holy fuck, man. What the fuck was all that about? 3 fucking minutes, really. To do what? What did you think I was doing on the fucking screen, Doug? What the fuck just happened here? Break everything. Okay. Jesus fucking Christ. Yes, please show me my eyes. Run back my fucking head, dog. You're so creative. That's also not how human beings look when they're dead. So what the fuck? What's your message, dog? Really? Holy fuck. It just amazes me this thing is allowed to exist and consume oxygen. Okay, so for 4 fucking minutes or some shit, I've been sitting here not doing whatever it is you think is your trigger. So the joint is not interrupted. It's not wasted. Yeah, keep getting mad. I'm going to point out the problems with your little fantasy here. The joint's sitting right there waiting for me to light it again. I took 1 drag off it and bang, again. So all that means is I'll light it again after. I don't give a fuck. You didn't make me go into heroin withdrawal. Neither you nor I is schizophrenic. So all your babble talk don't mean nothing. So I'm gonna press this button, and you can guess which one it was. Oh Jesus, this is fucking ridiculous.
Ready to die for it. You want to bet to be ready to die for it. That early morning hustler shit. Cocaine in the pot, stir it till it's thick. Throw some ice in the mix and shock it. That's how you rock that shit. Now here comes the magic trick. Abracadabra, bitch. The soul disappears quick as your baby mama's welfare check. This the life, yeah, fuck you pay me. I brought the bitch with me just to show you I ain't playing. All the goons in this motherfucking know what I'm saying. Bet the streets gon' feel me. Know these cops still wanna kill me or confine me. But first you gotta find me, so come find me. You bitch ass, punk ass cops, y'all can kiss on my cock. This is something that you'll never stop. Every bump of these tracks, even after I'm locked, even after my heart stops. I'm here to teach the next generation to say fuck the cops. Same way I was taught, yeah, same way I was taught. Yeah, fuck the cops, fuck the cops. All my thugs, pump drugs, dump slugs, great thugs. Nah, you ain't one of us. If you want it, better be ready to kill for it. If you want it, better be ready to kill for it. All my thugs, pump drugs, dump slugs, great thugs. Nah, you ain't one of us. If you want it, better be ready to die for it. If you want it, better be ready to die for it. Yeah. Gang like records, gang like records. Lay him on his back. Yeah. Hunger driving my motivations, no tolerance, running short of patience. Skip gold, do not collect money. That's the shit that got me dreaming robberies. When pops left, it was the block that fathered me. Got a problem, load the weapon, that's how you solve it, that's what it taught to me. And it's how your face starting to bother me. Put me in the direction where the bottom be. If it's just how I was born to be. Some come to this world with diamonds and pearls, some come to poverty. With no one to teach us right and wrong, how could you say that we wrong? This is all we know, so gotta be right. Or maybe it's left, but it's all we got left. And I just thug until my last breath. Truly, peace and love to the ones that knew me and fuck the rest. I mean it, and she know. But I walk up this door, it might be for the last time. They say the stars burn the brightest right before they die. That's why I tell her I love her just in case today's my day to shine. Father, forgive me for I sin, and I swear I probably sin again. Tell me whose blood is this on my hands, cause I can't remember. And when my neck go, allegedly in the river. All my thugs, pump drugs, dump slugs, grave thug. Nah, you ain't one of us. If you want it, better be ready to kill for it. If you want it, better be ready to kill for it. All my thugs, pump drugs, dump slugs, grave thug.